What's going on, guys? This is role model of the IWC here today with our first installation of, I'm not even really sure what I'm gonna call it yet, to be quite honest with y'all, but every Sunday from this point going forward, since I don't work on Sundays, we will be going over the latest news and rumors going around the WWE and wrestling in general, and then I will also be reviewing, going over, not necessarily a full review, the shows that I wasn't able to review during the week because I do have a fluctuating work schedule. So sometimes I might not be able to watch a Raw, sometimes I might be able to watch Raw, sometimes I might not be able to watch a SmackDown, sometimes I might be able to watch SmackDown. I'll just be putting the ones that I'm not able to review the day of up on here, thrown up together with this, kind of like a weekly wrap-up video. And one of the big pieces of news, or well, we're going to hold off on the news. The news, in my opinion, is more important than the shows this week. We'll start with NXT. NXT, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. NXT was not a good show. I really don't even really want to talk much about this show, to be honest with you. We had Bobby Fish and Kushida go up against Roderick Strong and Tyler Rust. I really don't know what you want me to tell you about it. It wasn't a great match. It wasn't anything that I'm going to sit here and get excited about. What did you think? I mean, obviously not going to have Kushida lose a match. Bobby Fish won. I mean, there's bigger names than Tyler Rust. I mean, like, come on. Come on. It wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. I never got into it. Then we saw a little bit backstage of Samoa Joe waiting for Karrion Kross to arrive into the CWC. He took his time. He took his time. But then we got into Frankie Monet versus JC Jane, and I once again do not care. Frankie Monet, it's about time we get her going up against somebody that's legit, somebody that could actually do something, somebody that has skill. Somebody that is going to mean something in the long run of things. Like, for example, we could have had her face Tegan Nox. Tegan Nox was on the she wasn't on that. She was on SmackDown with Shotzi, but I mean, we could have got somebody in the same caliber. We could have had somebody that was at least notable go up against her. Frankie Monet, I don't think you're building up Frankie Monet in a good, proper light. Frankie Monet won. Don't know what you really want me to say. Frankie Monet so far has not gotten anything. Then we got a backstage segment where we got to see Austin Theory and Johnny Gargano. They were talking about, and Johnny Gargano basically said, "Hey, tonight this is all you. You picked a fight with Kyle O'Reilly. That is your doing. Good luck with that." And then we got that match. Once again, didn't really care. Kyle O'Reilly won. Kyle O'Reilly's going to continue to win. I think Kyle O'Reilly eventually could be. I think he could get that NXT championship. I'm not 100% sure that that's going to happen, especially with the way it seems that they're going with Joe and Cross. But I don't see Kyle O'Reilly losing anytime soon. I think he's on a good path, and I think they really want to invest some time into Kyle O'Reilly. So I don't think it's really that big of a deal for Kyle O'Reilly, where he has to worry about losing. Then we actually had something that I really enjoyed, and that was Andre Chase going up against Odyssey Jones. Odyssey Jones, he had a vignette earlier in the night as well. But Odyssey Jones, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I think that guy has a lot of potential. He reminds me, he's a bigger guy. He kind of gives you a Bronson Reed kind of vibe. But Odyssey Jones, to me, I feel like he might have something that's the next step from what Bronson Reed has. Bronson Reed can get a crowd behind him, yeah. But I don't think Bronson Reed's going to become the NXT championship anytime soon. For some reason, I got that feeling with Odyssey Jones where he could maybe make that leap and become an NXT champion one day. Definitely not anytime soon, but Odyssey Jones is a guy that I'm looking at in this breakout tournament here, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking maybe this guy has a future. Maybe he has a future in the business. I like his look. I like what he was able to do in the ring. As for Andre Chase, he's decent in the ring, but he just really doesn't have any appeal to him. He doesn't look like a wrestler. He just doesn't feel like a wrestler. He doesn't have that charisma to him. But Odyssey Jones, I feel like there's something with him that could be that next level. So hopefully Odyssey Jones proves me that right. Then we got into the $1 million match with LA Knight and Drake Maverick. Oh man, I really don't even know what to tell you about this one. Drake Maverick won this short match. He won. He got a roll-up pin. He won. And then LA Knight had Cameron Grimes punch Drake Maverick after the match, demanding that he punched him because Cameron Grimes, obviously being the butler of Eli Drake, LA Knight, and that was really it. I imagine Drake Maverick is gonna get $1 million title opportunity. But I was waiting for Cameron Grimes to turn on LA Knight and just punch LA Knight instead of Drake Maverick. I think that's probably what they should have done, but I think they're gonna wait on that. I don't think they're in any hurry to give us that match again. I really don't. But as for NXT, I don't really know what to tell you. NXT was not that good of a show. The highlight for me on NXT the entire time was a breakout tournament with Odyssey Jones, because I think that guy has something in him. Then we get into SmackDown. SmackDown, in my opinion, was actually a fairly good show. I don't agree with some of the stuff on SmackDown, and my computer is lagging. Now I gotta pull back up my SmackDown. Yeah, SmackDown wasn't a bad show. It was pretty good in my opinion. And for the most part, the show was fine. We started the show off with John Cena. John Cena came out, called out Roman Reigns, and that was that. Paul Heyman came out and said, you know what, Roman doesn't really want to acknowledge you like you're acknowledging him, and he'll respond to you at the end of the night. Fair and simple. Then we got into Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn another time, and obviously Finn Balor won, and with the way that the ending of this show went, it makes sense why Finn Balor won. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that. It was a solid match. It was good. It was a weekly show match. It wasn't a pay-per-view quality match. It was a very good SmackDown match. I didn't come into it expecting that much, and it was there. Then we had a Baron Corbin segment where he was being interviewed, and they asked him how his GoFundMe account was going after last week, after he shouted it out. And he said, actually, the guy that I had set it up just stole my money and left. So I actually lost money in it. Baron Corbin, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about disheveled Baron Corbin, but I absolutely love it. The guy makes that role work. And then we get Big E coming out. And this is the one part of the actual SmackDown show. And I will say that term again, actual SmackDown show. This was the one part of the actual SmackDown show that I did not like. Actual meaning in the arena. In wherever they were hailing from. I don't even remember where they were hailing from, to be honest with you. Because all I know is the other place was garbage. But Big E came out. He was coming out. He was going in there. And he said, I don't have any business jumping off ladders. I did all these crazy things. And I eventually became the Money in the Bank contract holder. And then we had Apollo Crews come on out. And at this point, I'm like, why? Just why? Apollo Crews, I understand why he relates to the situation. He beat him for the Intercontinental Championship. I understand that. So he could have came out and made a little situation out of that. But then we had the Dirty Dogs come on out with Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. I'm like, what the where are we going with this? And then Ziggler says, well, if you're talking about the Intercontinental Championship, then you better start talking about us. I don't really know why. Then we had Rick Boogs come on out for whatever reason. We had Cesaro coming out for whatever reason. Then we got a quick little brawl. Shinsuke came out Boogs, but then we had a quick little brawl. I really didn't know what we were doing, to be honest with you. And that was that. Then we got into the worst part of the entire show. SmackDown hailing from the Rolling Loud concert. Rolling Loud Festival, whatever you want to call it. I don't understand why we did this. WWE looked lame for about 30 minutes of them being there, because I had 2 matches at the Rolling Loud concert. They looked lame. They had Wale come on out. He came out there. He was saying, alright, crowd, join me with me. We want the smoke. They weren't even doing it properly. We want the smoke. We want the smoke. They weren't even doing it properly. They were just saying, we want the smoke. We want the smoke. Like, really? They didn't even really chant with them, and it sounded dead. Not a single person in that crowd really knew who the Street Profits were. Street Profits came on out. They're doing their swag like nobody. And nobody. There was maybe a handful of people, maybe 20, 30 people that were doing the dance with them. Everybody else is just sitting there with their hands on their side, their hands in their pockets, their hands crossed like this, their hands up here. Half the people in the crowd weren't even wearing shirts. All the guys weren't wearing shirts. They had them draped over their shoulders. I don't think anybody really knew what was going on. They were just waiting for whomever was next. I don't even know who was singing. I don't even want to throw a name out there. I'm trying to think who it was supposed to be singing afterwards. I don't know. But they were all waiting for that, because not a single person gave a shit. Not a single person was there for wrestling. We went through this match with Angelo Dawkins and Chad Gable. I don't think I even heard a peep from this crowd. And then meanwhile, we got Pat McAfee and Michael Cole sitting there telling us, well, this is great. It's live. It's lit out there at the Rolling Loud Music Festival. They're on their feet cheering for this. They're on their feet, but they ain't cheering. I did not hear a single peep from nobody. Maybe a couple times we'll see a clap. I mean, we literally saw Angelo Dawkins win. And usually when people win, people stand up. They're like, yeah, woo! And everybody's still sitting there. They're sitting there like this. They don't care. They don't care. It looks stupid. It looked absolutely stupid. And then we had the Women's Championship match between Carmella and Bianca Belaire. Bianca Belaire came out, once again, a little to no reaction. I don't think they knew who Bianca Belaire was. I don't think they knew who Carmella was. You would have been better off if you saved John Cena for the Rolling Loud concert, because at least they know what John Cena is, who he is. Maybe they would know who a Roman Reigns is. But that crowd at the Rolling Loud concert did not know a single thing about a Carmella. They didn't know a single thing about a Bianca Belaire. They didn't know a single thing about the Street Profits. They didn't know a single thing about Otis or Chad Gable. They didn't know anything. They had no idea what they were watching. And I don't care how much you want to act like that was good for the business. It wasn't. It was terrible on TV. Absolutely terrible. I was sitting there, I'm like, this makes it seem lame. At least if you do it in a SmackDown crowd, wherever they were hailing from, at least everybody in that building should have a decent enough idea, because they're paying money specifically to watch the WWE product in your building. At least they should know who Carmelo and Angela Dawkins and Montez Ford and Bianca Belaire and Chad Gable and Otis is. Yes, they might not be the Roman Reigns of the world, but at least they should have a decent idea of who that is. Those people weren't there to watch wrestling. They were more than likely just there to listen to music and have fun and party with whomever was singing. And then you throw out you don't even give them somebody that they could at least acknowledge and act like they know. At least if you threw out a John Cena there, God forbid they would have done that and ruined what happened with John Cena tonight. But if you did that, at least there'd be a reaction. And I'm not even convinced that if you threw Roman Reigns out there, if they'd give him a reaction. I'm thinking Edge, Cena, maybe Orton, and maybe I don't really maybe Jeff Hardy, who I think I saw this in my group chat here this morning. I don't know if it's 100% true or not because I didn't look into it that much. But from what I'm hearing, Jeff Hardy might have came down with COVID. So if that is true, Jeff Hardy, I hope you get well soon. Hopefully that goes past you pretty quickly. But you could have at least gave them somebody knows, right? Like, seriously. I mean, I really don't know what to tell you. You came out there. You looked lame. You felt out of place at a concert that you had no business being in. And you guys got a terrible reaction. And you had to sit there and act like it was great. You had to sit there and act like this was amazing. It wasn't. It was awful. It was awful. It looked awful. It wasn't good in the ring. It was fast. It wasn't really that. It was a fast paced. They made sure that they got done with that quickly because they knew that crowd was not going to do anything. But it wasn't like a up tempo match. It was just two matches they threw together. It kind of reminded me of what you see at the local fair. If you go to a local fair and they bring a wrestling show, I've only been to about 2 fairs, I think, that have been in my town over like the past like 19 years. I've only seen them bring a wrestling show to the town I'm in's fair twice, and that's what it felt like. It felt like no name talent in front of everybody that is just working on something, trying to get better at wrestling and trying to eventually make their way up. But mind you, they're in the biggest company in the goddamn world for the sport of professional wrestling. And they sit out there and they look like absolute nobodies. I think ASAP Rocky was supposed to be performing there at that Get Loud Music or whatever, Rolling Loud Music Festival. I guarantee you there was more ASAP Rocky fans sitting in that front row than there is a single person in that front row that knows anything about any of the people that they saw wrestle. I don't know why that was needed. I don't know what you expect me to tell you. Bianca Bellaire won. That's really all. And then yeah. Then we had a segment with Shotzi and Tegan Nox, the one I was referring to earlier. She was on the SmackDown show. Yeah. They're fixing up the tank. Kevin Owens came back. He's like, oh, you might as well hit it with a hammer. That's all I can think of. Whatever. Then we see Corbin. He's like, Kevin, listen. I know I've been mean to you. I know I've been a jerk, but can you forgive me? Can you help me out? And then he's like, yeah, you have been a jerk, and usually people wouldn't help out jerks, but so here's some $20, and I'll get back to you, and just don't be a jerk next time. Then we have the tank shoots off one of those little rocket things, and it hits Corbin in the low area. And then we saw Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode come on up. They came up, they stole his $20, walked away, and Kevin Owens came in and started chasing him with a chair. Yeah, I say, Corbin, you good? You good. I thought at that point we were getting a tag team match. Corbin and Kevin Owens could be a good pairing. Is it the pairing that I think it's necessarily meant to be? Not really, but could be okay. Then we had Edge come on down. He said he wanted to see Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins came on down. He said, come into the ring. They had a little conversation going into the ring. And Rollins was basically saying, listen, I could have ended your career once. I should do it this time. You don't want to mess with me because I'm going to put my foot on the back of your head and I'm going to retire you again with that surgically repaired neck. And then Edge was like, well, I've been through all of this. I've worked in some of the darkest factions. I've been in the Brood. I've been in the Ministry of Darkness. And you're out here just coming at me like that. And then Edge was like, you know what? I really don't even think that it's worth keeping my promise to you. You know how I said I was going to leave my hands off you? Well, I'm a liar. And then he attacks him. That's going to be the SummerSlam match for you, folks. Edge and Rollins. Match should be good. More than likely, Edge is going to win. Rollins isn't going to lose anything by losing to Edge. Edge isn't going to lose anything by losing to Rollins, so it really doesn't matter. But more than likely, it's probably going to be Rollins losing the match, I would assume. Then we had the debut of Storm. Not Zero. Storm 1. I don't know why they got to change shit, man. But seriously, man. Toni Storm comes up on the main roster night 1, and instead of being Storm 0, she's Storm 1. What? Why? I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but still, why do you gotta change things? You don't always have to change things, Vince. You don't always have to change things. What's wrong with you? If you wanted to change something, change the way you book your shows every week. Don't change things that make somebody good, something that gives somebody personality, character. If you want to change something, start looking in the mirror, Vince. Toni Storm beat Zelina Vega. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Zelina Vega, I don't know why she came back. She's 0-3 since returning. Why did you come back? So you could lose? I don't know. Probably could have made similar money. I'm not going to say she would have made more money over at AEW, but she could have made similar money. Maybe that was just a money move for her. And if that's the case, get your money, but I don't want to hear complaining when you're not booked right. That's simple. I'm not going to feel bad for you if you're sitting there complaining about how you're booked. Then we had Jimmy Uso go up against Dominic Mysterio once again. I don't know why Jimmy Uso's even on TV. Who knows? And at the end, Jimmy, ended up picking up the win from his help of the brother Jay. Who cares? Wasn't a bad match, but it was just stupid. It was just stupid. And then this last segment absolutely made my day because I watched it this morning, but absolutely made my morning and definitely made that SmackDown good for me. And that is that at the end of the show we had, after the Usos won, Roman Reigns was coming down to the ring. Roman Reigns came down to the ring and he said that it's funny because y'all acknowledge me, but we had John Cena. He came out at Money in the Bank. He acknowledged me. He came out on Monday Night Raw and he acknowledged me. And then to start the show, he came out and he acknowledged me. And he was like, and the thing is, I thought maybe Cena could have hanged with me. We could have had that match. But John Cena came out, and instead of being different, instead of having a new passion in him, he came out and he played the nostalgia game. He came out there, same music, same clothes, same runs, same hat, same everything, same catchphrases, same promo. He came out there with the same everything. And he tried to play that nostalgia game. So, as for the match at SummerSlam that John Cena proposed for Roman Reigns' answer is no. Now, I don't know if we're still getting this match at SummerSlam, because I could see a situation where this lights a fire under John Cena. John Cena attacks whom ends up being the challenger for Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, and it forces his way into the match and forces his way into getting what he wants by just frustrating Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns being impressed with all the lengths John Cena went through to get to him. I could see that happening. Or, here's my other option, we leave what happened on SmackDown as the SummerSlam main event, and we take the long path from John Cena to Roman Reigns, and we do John Cena and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania next year. Yes, it could be big at SummerSlam, But if you can figure out a way to string together a 6-month promotion and feud between Roman and John Cena that doesn't let them fight each other for 6 months all the way up until WrestleMania, that could be one of, if not the best moments of the entire year. Because after that, we had none other than Finn Balor. Yes, Finn Balor came down to the ring and he said, "You didn't accept Cena's challenge." So I came down here and I thought maybe you might accept mine. Roman Reigns, he looks at the crowd, he sits there, he's like, "Yeah. Challenge accepted." I don't know if we're getting that match at SummerSlam specifically, but we are getting a Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns match, and I think it's going to be very good. I would have it at SummerSlam, and I would have to try to play the long game with John Cena. I don't know if they can because of Hollywood commitments from John, but it would be very, very interesting to see what they could do going that path. I think Finn Balor and Roman Reigns is a more than acceptable main event at SummerSlam. Maybe some people want the big name like John Cena, but to me, Finn Balor and Roman Reigns speaks just as loudly to me as John Cena and Roman Reigns. I think it could be a great promotion between those two, and it could be very good going into those long summer months afterwards, where we might get maybe a situation where we're sitting there and looking at a Finn Balor possibly bringing back the Demon after losing to Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, bringing back the Demon for maybe like a Royal Rumble, maybe an Elimination Chamber, maybe a Survivor Series match against Roman, because he brings that out of Finn Balor where he has to dig down to a place that he hasn't dug down to for a very long time. And then other than that, we have a few big pieces of news left here. Last night, we had Matt Cardona, a.k.a. Zack Ryder. He went in GCW, and he won the GCW Championship from Nick Gage, who ended up losing that title yesterday in a very solid match. He is now the master of the deathmatch. He is now the guy. Matt Cardona, if you would have told me he would be the guy, no, wouldn't believe you. Literally last night, he was trending. Matt Cardona was trending. Matt Cardona was the talk of everybody. Matt Cardona, I've not watched it, but from the hype alone, I'm going to have to go back and watch it. Matt Cardona won the GCW Championship against Nick Gage, and what I'm hearing is a very good death match between the two. So I did want to give Matt Cardona a little shout out there because that happened last night. So shout out to my boy Matt Cardona getting his victory and becoming the champion over in GCW. And then I don't even really need the next article. Why don't I need it? Because I already know what I'm going to say. I talked about Daniel Bryan on the AEW review. We know that. Yeah, so AEW signed Daniel Bryan. But AEW decided, hey, maybe we didn't have enough fun this week. Maybe we didn't get enough news in this week. You wanted to hear some John Cena, Roman Reigns news? Guess what we say to that? Because AEW, by the end of the week, has the biggest piece of news of the year. If it is true. But from what we are hearing, and what we've seen, and what we're understanding, is that AEW has committed to a deal with none other than Phil Brooks, CM Punk, to a contract as an in-ring performer at AEW on the show as a weekly guy, and it could be starting as soon as their first show in Chicago this fall. I don't know if it's going to be at the Dynamite. I don't know if it's going to be at the Rampage. I don't know if it's going to be at the All Out. from what I'm understanding, one of those 3 shows, we are going to hear the look in my eyes, what do you see? I think we could be in for that. Think about it. Think about this moment. Hangman Adam Page finally beats Kenny Omega at All Out. You have all of Dark Order come down, celebrate with Hangman on top of their shoulders. They have beer everywhere, they're throwing it around. They're all happy. They're all throwing a good time. Then we hear CM Punk walks down, and we end All Out. We end All Out with Hangman coming off of the shoulders of the Dark Order, with the Dark Order standing behind him, looking in the eyes of CM Punk. I got chills just saying that. And then somebody posted a Twitter clip the day that it was confirmed that said, I saw the epiphany of what's going to happen. And it was Kenny Omega. It said, there's nobody left for Kenny Omega to fight. The same line that he said when the Dark Order came out and proposed that, hey, it could be Hangman. There's nobody left for Kenny Omega to fight. And then it cut to the music. And then they're like, it's CM Punk. If CM Punk is to return, if he is actually returning to professional wrestling, this is the biggest single piece of news all year. Why? Because I think there's one individual that's associated with the professional wrestling world that could legitimately turn the tables for AEW and make them go up there and compete weekly with the ratings that Raw's been putting up. And I don't mean they're going to go out there and they're going to put 2.4. They're going to do that. Raw ratings, people. 1.7s, 1.8s. I think they can compete and maybe beat Raw. And that is with Phil Brooks. Why? Because the wrestling world has needed Phil Brooks so badly the last 5 or 6 years that the moment that man steps into a ring that is sanctioned from a wrestling promotion, not a UFC, MMA, whatever, the moment he steps into a ring, everybody that's a wrestling fan, their eyes go from being over here, from being onto the company that holds Phil Brooks. That is the biggest piece of news I think we're going to have all year. And the moment that CM Punk, if it is true, comes in and debuts on AEW is going to be the single biggest moment, not only of this year, but in the history of AEW, and more than likely the last 5 years. I can't think of a WWE moment that's been bigger. I can't think of an AEW moment that would be bigger. I can't think of anything that would even touch Phil Brooks returning to pro wrestling in 2021 at All Out. I can't think of anything that would top them. That single-handedly might take AEW from being AEW's a great show, but it might be from good ratings, and then we might get great ratings for AEW. And then we'll start sitting there talking about a real AEW versus WWE. Who's who, what's what. There's actually a little bit of say-so between the two. Because right now, it's more so AEW compared to NXT, and then you have the people that are sitting there trying to complain, or trying to compare it to SmackDown and Raw as if they're on the same playing field. Phil Brooks might be the guy to put them on the same playing field. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but Phil Brooks, the moment that man debuts in AEW, I can guarantee you one thing. The very first show following his debut, if he debuts at All Out, then Dynamite. If he debuts at Dynamite, then the Rampage. If he debuts there, then maybe All Out. Who knows? The moment that it is confirmed that CM Punk, Phil Brooks, has returned, the next show that is being put on, I swear will hold the biggest numbers of the entire AEW history. I would not be surprised if AEW hit 1.9, 2.0, maybe even higher. Maybe even higher. I might be just having a pipeline dream here. But Phil Brooks legitimately could be that guy, in my opinion. At least from what I've gauged from what everybody else thinks of Phil Brooks, what I think of Phil Brooks, from what I understand, everybody loves him. Everybody loves him. I love Phil Brooks. I've met Phil Brooks. I went to Phil Brooks' show that he held at StarCast. I'm a big fan of CM Punk. And I know a lot of other people that are big fans of CM Punk and will mark out if this guy returns. The real question is, how much of a reach does he really have? I think it's big. I might be overthinking it. Who knows? But this might be the single biggest piece of news of the entire year. And we just got news that Daniel Bryan is more than likely confirmed to AEW. Think about that. CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan. In AEW. Not with WWE reigns on it. CM Punk versus Hangman Page. Daniel Bryan versus Hangman Page. CM Punk versus Kenny Omega. Daniel Bryan versus Kenny Omega. Daniel Bryan against Scorpio Sky. Colt Cabana going up against his friend, or former friend, CM Punk now. Obviously, they had a falling out. I don't know how they'd go about that. Who knows? But from what I understand, Tony Khan has made CM Punk a priority from day one. And I think this is true. I think we finally did it. And I legitimately think that it's time that we see CM Punk and we hear that beautiful look in my eyes, what do you see? A cult of personality. I think it's about time. And if I am in that arena for All Out, well, I am in the arena for All Out, but if I am in that arena the moment CM Punk returns, if it is at All Out, I will not have a voice the next day. I will not have the voice the day after. I will have lived the best life I think I could have lived. Because that is going to be the single biggest mark out moment of my entire life. I think I will mark out more just for seeing CM Punk return to wrestling than I did when I was meeting AJ Styles, when I was meeting some of the wrestlers that I met, Cody, Janela, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, Tony Khan, MJF. I think I will have more chills in that moment of CM Punk returning than I would have ever had meeting any people. And I've met CM Punk. But I think I will have more satisfaction out of seeing CM Punk return. Why? Because CM Punk, to me, is a guy that growing up, he was a guy that wasn't always by the book. You looked at the WWE, and more than likely, growing up, if you're from my era, you're a Cena fan, and I was a Cena fan. Don't get me wrong. Cena, I still love Cena. Cena's one of my guys. But then you have this guy, this straight edge guy, come out, and he's leading this faction. And it's CM Punk. We see CM Punk go up against Mysterio. We see CM Punk do Cena matches. We've seen CM Punk do a lot of different things. He had the AJ Lee thing. CM Punk, to me, growing up, was one of the best parts about growing up. Him and John Cena are two of the biggest names I remember from my young days of watching the WWE. Those two guys were the reasons why I was watching the WWE at the time. It wasn't because of an Orton. It was because of an HBK. I loved HBK. I did love Triple H. But it wasn't. A lot of the times it was more so. My two favorites were CM Punk and John Cena. John Cena just returned. He could be going up against Roman Reigns, who right now is one of my favorites. And then CM Punk going up against Kenny Omega, possibly. Against Hangman, possibly. That sounds amazing. That sounds like we are in the best spot that we have been in wrestling in a very long time. I'm not saying it's the best spot we've ever been in, but it is damn near close to it. This year of wrestling is major. And if this is the year that CM Punk finally decides to return to the wrestling ring, to the squared circle, this will single-handedly be the best year pro wrestling has had in the last decade. And I don't even want to try to act like it's not. I don't care what you had to say. There's nothing better. Right now, if you look at it, we have good pay-per-views for WWE. Don't get me wrong. They've been good. There's been good ones. But it's been shows. And then we have, if you look on the other sides, we got Impact putting on good shows. We got New Japan putting on good shows. We got AEW. We got, just yesterday, we had GCW apparently put on a good show. I have not watched that show yet, but it's apparently been good. We have names all over the independent scene that are very promising, like a Danhausen. There's so many guys, man, that these days that you look at and you're like, they have something special about them. It's not the 1 through 6, 7 guys just in the WWE anymore. You can look at any promotion. Jay White just made his Impact return debut, whatever, at Slammiversary. He just got there, and looked Kenny Omega dead in the eyes. We have Will Ospreay. There's so many names that you can't even sit there and act like we're not in the best professional wrestling we've ever been in. We just aren't. There's so many names and so many talented people these days that this is by far at least one of the most talented years of wrestling we've ever had. And if CM Punk comes back, this might be the best year of wrestling we've ever had. Which is weird to say because we're coming off one of the worst years we've ever had. Don't get me wrong, AEW did good, but a lot of the other promotions either didn't do much because of COVID. Some of the smaller promotions, like not like the Impacts, but like the GCWs, they weren't doing anything. But COVID did take a hamper on those things last year. WWE was awful in the Thunderdome. Awful. I'm gonna try to act like that was good. I mean, I don't really know what you want me to say, but we could be in the best era of wrestling we've been in for a very long time. And that starts with Phil Brooks in that arena. In front of everybody at the Now Arena in Chicago at All Out. That's all I have for y'all today. I know I went a little bit long about Phil Brooks, but hey, man, Phil Brooks is a guy we got to talk about a lot, man. We got NXT on here. We got SmackDown on here. We got the Cardona. Shout out to my boy Cardona once again. And we got the CM Punk news. And a little bit of Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's with AEW. You knew that. I talked about that already, but that's all I got for y'all right now. Thank y'all for watching this video. I still don't know what I'm going to call it. So whatever the title of this video is, it's probably going to be changed in like 2 weeks when I finally come up with a name. But yeah, thank y'all for watching.